It's day 3 at the South African Equality Court, where the EFF and AFRIFORUM are appearing before the court, as the AFRIFORUM is accusing the EFF of violating the 2020 court order by insisting on singing the struggle song Kill the Boer, aka Dubuli Bunu, which they see as hate speech. Before the tea break, Judge Mulahlehi makes a court ruling on AFRIFORUM's roots on undermining his order of taking footage, and here is the verdict.
But to say that the conduct itself, and I think Mr. Rhodes also in a way considered during his testimony, that it would have not been permissible and it would have been wrong, but that he did not do it intentionally. In my own analysis of the evidence before, let me also just pause here and indicate that counsel for the defendant had indicated that he had intended to also call his attorney because both him and the attorney observed the conduct of Mr. Rhodes. And thus he had indicated he was intending to call her to testify. That never happened. And neither did he call any other witness to contradict the version presented by Mr. Rhodes. In any case, Mr. Rhodes did not dispute the version put forward to him by the counsel for the defendant. So calling a witness would not have necessarily taken the matter any further. In my view, yes, indeed, one can criticize Mr. Rhodes, and one could also say, Mr. Rhodes, you ought to have known better, being an expert witness, having written on some of the subject relating to complaints about conduct of people, and I think also taking into account what Mr. Kasiboro said, that this court right from the beginning has insisted and will continue to insist the court should be given respect, the decorum of the court should be respected, and any directive issued by the court has to be respected. And I pause here because this is a fundamental issue, and I have observed, both sitting in court and reading on the media and looking at some of the footages on television, how it looks like in this country, if we're not careful, we are going to end up with the court losing control of what is happening. We're going to face a situation where lawlessness would be the order of the day in the courts. And the court would not serve the purpose if that happens, which has been granted to it by the Constitution. And I personally wish to warn the country at large that if we're not careful and we don't take a firm stand on principle and simple things like walking in court and bowing, showing respect to the court, we will run into difficulties. And similarly, turning back to the issue of the complaint against Mr. Rhodes, if people are just going to disregard court orders in any manner, we may as well close shop, because the court will not serve the purpose that the people of the country would expect it to do. And those who are in authority in charge of ensuring the respect of the court and the respect of the rule of court, they, I would say from my side, be warned to say you'd rather start putting your heads together to say what is happening. In as far as the contempt principles are concerned, it's also an element or a factor that needs to be taken into account, the issue of intention to undermine the court. From the evidence presented by Mr. Rhodes, it doesn't appear to me that he intentionally disobeyed the order. When he was immediately confronted by counsel for the defendant, he indicated and says he inquired from him as to whether he should stop using the phone to photograph. He says he also indicated to him that if he so wished, he would delete the photo in the phone. I also take into account, and I don't think it has been disputed, that everybody who was seated where he was, and I may just mention that I saw him as he was called to come forward, that he was indeed seated at the second row in the seats at the back of the court. And thus I have no reason to doubt that he may not have heard fully the order as was given. And thus my ruling would be, or before I make the final ruling, yes, in fact, let me make the ruling. My ruling is 1, the photo taken during the consultation between counsel of both parties by Mr. Rhodes need to be deleted, and they should be deleted in the presence of counsel and both attorneys of the parties. And Mr. Ruth, you are also directed that if you took more than one photo, you are duty bound, being under oath, to disclose all those photos. If there are any photos or any images that may remain in your cell phone, include anything that you may have typed into your cell phone if you did, all those should be deleted. But secondly, you also prohibited, if for any reason they are not deleted, to circulate them on any platform, including social media. Accordingly, I also find that Mr. Rhodes cannot be found guilty of contempt of court. Thank you very much. Yes.
As the court pleases.
We may now proceed to the next part of the case.